building production grade full stack applications as easy as like using Canva. The challenging part is like, yeah, we can make dev environments easier, but we couldn't make like coding meaningfully easier. I mean, I'm still kind of mind blown by it. We had no idea that it was going to end up being the huge thing that it kind of is now.
What were the initial apps that caught your attention? Like, what did you see folks building out? Today, I do see like full stack apps, and with your mobile recent update as well, I'm seeing a lot of people building mobile stuff.
One was a girl named Pitch. She's a PM at a software bank company in Thailand. She built this app called Viral Hooks. She made this app that like connects with OpenAI, and she wrote this like agent, using Bolt to actually kind of reverse engineer what the best creators do, and then help you write your own content. A week before Bolt launch, she had put the project on Upwork, got a quote from like a Ukrainian developer for like $5,000 or something, and he quoted like it would take like 3 months, which is like pretty reasonable, right? The next week, Bolt came out, and she bought our like $50 a month plan and had it shipped in 2 weeks.
Speed is a benefiting factor, right?
I think that's like the number one thing. The companies that are adopting Bolt, they're coming here because it's like, hey, we have an idea for like, the next great app we want to ship. Instead of showing people screenshots of the thing, just prompt it in 30 minutes and put the from them and get real feedback based on that feedback. They'll update my device, right?
People do understand that what matters at this age and at this hour of building software, get closer to the customers and actually ship the idea out. So with that narrative being changed, I think where we are with Bolt.
Bolt is like the number one, most adopted web-based AI code gen. It's no coincidence.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Founders Foyer with me, Aishwarya. This foyer is full of conversations. The space where creators, founders, and builders look for all the support and concepts to grow their ideas into products. Building software is just a few prompts away now. The easier part being dictating what you have in mind, but the toughest part being how to structure it in a way that the agentic tool interprets. While this is going to be an ongoing journey, it's definitely empowering for anybody in tech to just visualize their ideas and get started by building out something instead of just drawing lines in the air. So where's this exactly taking us into? I've got Eric Simons, co-founder of Blitz and the maker of Bolt.new, an AI tool that enables people to build full-stack web and very recently mobile apps too, right on the browser. Bolt drove from 0 to 20 million ARR in 2 months, and with more than 2 million registered users today, and also being number one on the top charts of AI tools, there's definitely a story behind for all of us to know and a promising future that Eric is here to share with us. Thank you so much, Eric. I am so excited that you're here on the show.
Yeah, me too. Thank you for the awesome intro. I'm hyped. I'm hyped about my accolades. I'm joking, but yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's cool here, and it's cool that we've been able to like in such a short period of time actually been able to like go from like almost shutting down our company to then actually being like one of the one of the more prominent AI tools out there now.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think that's the whole part about growing over time and consistently building a base, right? Which I really want to dive into in today's show. But first things first, I really want to take a moment for this Eric who's sitting here to look back at the high school Eric who told his chemistry teacher, let's get everybody working together on computers and I'll build the software for us to use. So what do you want to say? And what's been this wild journey that you're in over time now?
Let's see. Yeah. Good question. Yeah. So I'm like 30. I think I'm like 33 now. After you turn 31, I feel like I've started forgetting how old I am. But when I was like 13 or 16 or whatever, God, it feels like an eternity ago. I'd be like, Eric, you're an idiot.
All of us would have heard that at some point.
You have so much to learn. I'm sure I'll say that 20 years from now too. God, it's a good question. I don't think about this often. I don't think about this often. Yeah, it's kind of it feels like a different lifetime, And I mean, I think a lot of the time, I mean, just from the time I was in high school, like my co-founder and he and I grew up down the street from each other, and have been building software together ever since. So he and I were building stuff in high school, and we started just a string of after high school. We came out to Silicon Valley, started a whole bunch of different startup ideas, and most of this stuff just didn't work. And so I'd say like a lot of the experience is just trial by fire and just getting our butts kicked. Like it's we spent the better part of certainly like a decade at least just not working on things that weren't working. And I mean, heck, this company that Blitz and which is Bolt, the creator of Bolt.new.
Yeah.
I mean, like we were going to shut this thing down at the end of last year because we couldn't figure out how to actually we built very cool technology. We couldn't figure out how to monetize it. So I'd say what I didn't expect, I think every entrepreneur says is what I didn't expect getting into entrepreneurship is how hard it is.
Mm.
But, I think that it it makes you, to the degree that you can continue being an entrepreneur, it really makes you, it forces you to become a better version of yourself, because
Mm.
you get your butt kicked over and over and over and you just have to, you have to
Yeah.
learn to love that, and then learn like how do you actually like take that and just continue to improve day after day for years on end with, and so anyway, so there's something, I think that's the experience, right? I mean, and
Yeah.
that probably sounds very bleak, but it's actually like, I think that, like, I think that you can kind of measure like greatness in terms
Mm.
of endurance of pain over how
Yeah.
long of a, how great the pain and how long periods of time. Like the people
Yeah.
that are do incredible work tend to like, they don't tend to be people that just kind of on their first time doing something, everything worked. I mean, it's just like there's people that have really, you look at someone like Michael Jordan. I grew up in Chicago during the 90s, right? So like
Yeah.
that guy was not, he was every day was forcing himself to just,
It
you
was
know,
not an overnight success, right? Like,
I mean, 100%. I mean, even when he was, when they were winning the championship games, I mean, he
mm.
was grinding, like he was grinding
Mm.
into hours of the night, just shooting
Mm.
hoops, right? Like just practicing. And so you kind of look at that. It's like the best, like it is, kind of endurance of pain
Yeah.
is a key requirement to actually like to push beyond what is
Yeah. Yeah.
ordinary and being extraordinary, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the, that's the hard thing, and yeah, the most interesting thing, I guess, that I've learned since then.
Yeah. Yes, that's quite a very, I would say, like a very reflective journey too, right? And for me, just to connect the dots back, like how you were saying, it all started like you started coding much early on in time, like 13 and 15, like you said. And also like in terms of one common theme that I get from back 10 to now is there's always this concept around building and sharing stuff with people. Like that was there with your first startup, which was, and I still remember reading about how you built it, right? Like right out of a HQ, just sitting out of AOL HQ and like building relentlessly. It's crazy. I mean, like now when you look back, you're like, oh my God, like did I really do this? At the same time, I'm so glad you pointed out the fact that it's not like you build something out today, just ship it, and then see like 10,000 users pile up tomorrow. But then it's a matter of how consistent do you get at distributing it? How do you go about showing up even when
Yeah.
it's going to be like extremely difficult, like you said? So like 100% with you there. And I'm so glad you pointed that out because that's the right journey that I wanted to start this talk with. For a lot of them who know Bolt today, I think it's just might look to them as a runway success. But then I know, similar to what you said, in terms of there's been a Stack Blitz at least a decade ago, right? And it's been
Yeah.
like 7 to 8 years of journey. So the path actually started with making development more accessible to where today Bolt is to make AI more accessible. So I'm curious, Eric, what led you into Bolt? Like, what was that specific moment that you felt, you know what, building this is going to like really help us scale Stack Blitz forward?
Yeah. Yeah. Good question. Yeah. I think, well, and the reason we started StackBlitz was, like what you're saying around, like, we wanted to bring development environments into the
Mm.
browser, because like whether learning co-founder or 13, or you're like just starting a new project or starting at a new company, setting up your dev environment is like total pain in the butt. And most people are trying to learn how to code. That's like where they flame out, because you can't even learn how to code because you have to like get a
Mm.
computer science, this whole thing, right? So
Yeah.
like if we could bring that to the browser, like what Figma did for design and Google did for document, that would be huge. And so we built this technology that like runs an operating system in your browser using WebAssembly. And then it was like just deep technology. Took us, 4 years to build or something. Nothing, no one's ever seen anything like it, since or before. And but we couldn't figure out how to monetize it. Like developers were really
Mm.
like a audience. Cause like once you are a developer and you have your stuff set up locally, there's not a huge impetus to like, hey, let me like lift and shift and use a browser-based thing.
Yeah.
We had a lot of developers using us for prototyping and like ancillary use cases or whatever, but it was not like how Cursor, right, is being used, where it's powering
Mm. Mm.
a character you're typing sort of thing.
Mm.
Um, so when the AI, kind of revolution started kicking off in 2022, 2023,
Mm.
I'd had the idea of just like, wouldn't it be like great if ChatGPT could actually like build full stack apps. So I mean, like
Yeah.
you can, but then you can like go to it and like say make a Next.js app or whatever, but it'll like spit out the code. You have to like copy and paste that, like, right? It's like not ideal, right? And
Mm.
so I was like, this is what our technology was designed to do. Like this, it's called Web Container, this in-browser operating
Yeah.
system.
Yeah. You had the
So
base
we
for
kind of
it
like
already. Yeah.
exactly, yeah, and so it's like, and the whole thing for, again, we want to like make building production grade full stack
Mm.
application as easy as like using Canva or something, right?
Yeah.
Like that's been the impetus from the get go for us. the challenging part is like, yeah, we can make dev environments easier, but we couldn't make like coding meaningfully
Mm,
to learn to
mm,
still be a professional, right? With the frontier AI, so back like a year ago, it had the idea for Bolt. I had one, a contractor come on, kind of build out a prototype of the thing
mm,
using the tier models at the time, and they weren't good. They just the code they outputted just didn't work. It was error, like buggy, blah,
mm,
blah. So we kind of put the project on the shelf after a week or two, and then back in May,
mm.
we got a preview of the Sonnet 3.5 stuff before it had gone online, and it was like, well, this changes everything because like this is good. Like the code that's coming out of this thing is extremely good, zero shot. And so we greenlit that, started July 1st, kind of building Bolt, launched it October 1st or 3rd or something like
Yeah.
that. And just kind of took off like a rocket. And so kind of the impetus again, like for us is like, it seemed like, hey, this could be a very cool merger of the frontier technology we've been making for
Mm,
in-browser development environments, frontier AI, like this agent
yeah.
we built, that there could be this really cool overlap where
Mm,
it makes it way easier to build, applications, just using text. And to the degree it worked to a degree that are still kind of mind blown by. We had no idea that it was going to end up being the huge thing that it kind of is now. And like we were like, hey, it would be really cool if we added 100K of ARR after a couple of months. Like that would be a wow,
yeah.
right? And we at the 2 month mark we had added 20 million. And so it was just like it was like what? And it just kept growing since then. So it's like, yeah, anyway, so that was kind of
Yeah.
why we
Yeah.
decided to do it, and then just kind of how it ended up happening,
Yeah. No, like this is fantastic. And like you said, like while both stories seem to be extremely independent, I think this whole going from a state where there's no monetization with Stack Blitz to actually getting to a 20 million with Bolt. I think Bolt happened because you had the base of Stack Blitz. And the fact that you had a conviction about changing the narrative or trying to build something that was already not existing is what I guess like also helped with the whole AI wave. Because if that was not there, I think yeah, it would have been very hard to make people understand what to really do with AI. And for that matter, this is just so empowering. Like every second day that I meet someone who is perhaps like the fact for me, what's more interesting is the whole narrative from what used to be a coding environment for developers has not actually changed into literally anybody getting started with coding, right?
Yeah.
Someone who doesn't even have experience to coding or perhaps like wouldn't even know these languages in the first place is able to just with natural language prompt and get their apps done. So that is super empowering. And like every day there's so many examples that I've been like seeing around. So kudos to you, kudos to the team. It's just so good to, put it out there and just celebrate for that.
Yeah, totally. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, totally. And then like, yeah, that was kind of the crazy thing is like we had originally anticipated it was like gonna be developers using this thing entirely.
Mhm.
We're a developer tool, right? It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
and since we've launched, I mean, the majority of people are not developers. They're PMs, they're entrepreneurs, they're designers, etc.
Yeah.
So it's like something like 60-70% of people are in that category, and the 30-40 are like developers or whatever. And that's what's it's super cool to me about it is it's for the first time, you have folks that have always been good at building and designing products like PMs and designers or whatever.
Yeah.
But for the first time, they can actually like instead of writing code through a developer's fingertips as the only way to make it, they can actually,
Yeah.
do it
Yeah.
themselves, right?
Yeah.
And be in full control of the development process to like see their vision through. And that's nuts. I mean, I think that's gonna, I think that this is going to have pretty profound implications on how the world's software companies are organized. Like when
Yeah.
PMs are in a position to actually directly like write code, right, quote unquote, instead of like just writing Jira tickets that a developer has to go and deal with, and then follow up with the developer, be like, you didn't implement it correctly. And I mean, like they can just do it.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be huge. I mean, we're
Yeah.
already starting to see that, of the companies that are adopting.
Yeah.
So
You're actually talking to one of the PMs who's coding today. So yeah. That's
let's go. Hell yeah.
and using Bolt like every day. So it's fun journey. And I totally hear you, right? Because it's just changed the way people think about building software because a lot of this used to be very siloed orchestration before where it was always like, hey, like stay within your lanes or there's always like a handover kind of a thing. Right now, it's what's more exciting is everybody's able to have a take in it by just not talking about it in the air, like I was saying earlier, but going about and building something that they want to see and actually talking with little proof of, hey, like this feature could look like this or this idea could go like this. So I think that part is pretty interesting. And when you built Bolt out like early October of 2024, to that to, let's say, December-ish, where the app just went viral, what were the initial apps that caught your attention? Like, what did you see folks building out? Today, I do see like full stack apps, and with your mobile recent update as well, I'm seeing a lot of people building mobile stuff. But early on, like, what was it like really catching up on?
Yeah, the some of the initial ones, the first two that really blew my mind, and this is like in October, both of these were built and launched. Like one was this girl named Pitch. She's a PM at a software bank company in Thailand. She built this app called Viral Hooks, right?
Okay.
I think it's hooks.ai. And basically what it does is it actually helps you like write engaging. Like if you want to make like TikToks that are like, going to pull a lot of views, you need to have like a hook that kind of pulls people in, right? To keep watching
Um,
it. And so
right.
it comes out of like writing really, really compelling, viral hooks. And so she made this app that like connects with OpenAI. She wrote this like agent, using Bolt
Mhm.
to actually kind of reverse engineer what the best creators do, and then help you write your own content, right?
Interesting.
That was like one issue. I mean, that's like a full stack app.
Right.
She had before Bolt launch, the week before Bolt launch, she had put. We ended up chatting with her because I was like, "This is crazy." So we got on the phone with her, and she was talking to us about this. And week before Bolt launch, she had put the project on Upwork, got a quote from
Mm.
like a Ukrainian developer for like $5,000 or something.
Oh, wow.
And he quoted like it would take like 3 months, which is like pretty reasonable, right? And the next week Bolt came out, and she bought our like $50 a month plan and had it
Hmm.
shipped in 2 weeks or something. So it's
Wow.
like, you're talking about like a 99% cost reduction for 5 grand
Yeah.
fee, and then 2 weeks
Time
to set.
reduction too.
Yeah. So like that, and we were like, wow, that's crazy. I wonder if that's like, I wonder if that's like kind of a one-off thing. And it turns out it's not. Cause like and we ended up talking to this guy, Paul, he built an entire CRM on top of like it's like got like AI built into it. So you can be like, hey, add this deal to the pipeline. It like does it, it's like crazy. Like, and it's got
Hmm.
Stripe and whatever. And same deal. He got, agency quote was like 30 grand. He built it for like $300 in 3 weeks, and they were going to take 6 months. So it's like, like another like perfect 99% cost reduction on this thing.
Yeah.
And the product output was better because he's directly in control of it the entire
Mm.
way. If you think about
Yeah.
like consulting with a dev agency or whatever,
Mm.
often where things break down is just like communication and like the fidelity of how stuff is implemented.
Absolutely.
Whereas
Absolutely.
with this, it's like, and both Paul and Pitch, the guy from Thailand, both these people are like not developers. Like she's a PA,
Yeah.
he's an entrepreneur. This is the first time they can actually create products from scratch themselves using their own fingertips.
Yeah.
It's been, and there's a ton of these, but
Yeah.
that was like the first 3 weeks. Like those are like, it was just the first startups were built, launched, and made money off of this thing. And that blew our minds because we were like, we had no idea. We had no idea that
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
with this thing like that.
Right. No, but it's so good to hear some of these stories too, because when you actually develop something, it's not often that oh, this is exactly where it's going to go and sit unless you actually see someone doing it. And what I see as the best way when users go about sharing these examples is it's just opening the avenues for so many other folks who discover, because it's not just them who's getting benefited or who's probably, like you said, getting cost reduction or getting time reduction, but the fact that they're able to show this example to so many other folks. And I remember I chanced upon Bolt like through one of those tweets where someone was actually sharing, oh, like this is what I built. And I was like, oh, wait, can I just go build stuff now? And then that's how I discovered. So it's just so funny that one little tweet can actually go about helping so many folks discover ideas. And the fact that
Yeah.
this is in the recent times, what's made me also very curious about is this rise of personal software, right? Because from what you were just talking about in terms of somebody being able to build and ship a CRM by themselves and literally doing a cost reduction of 99%. This over time, like from today to like let's say for the next few months and a couple of years down the line, it's just going to make this whole experience of building software as how you would go to a kitchen and cook your own stuff. So it's going to be a combination of, hey, like for this, I'm going to cook my own dish, but maybe for the other one, I will buy outside. So where's
Yeah.
this exactly taking us? This is just an open take that I'd like to know from you. Are you thinking about this, especially as you're scaling Bold? What's on your mind with respect to traditional SaaS applications versus custom made, personally built software down the line?
Yeah, I think I mean, for small stuff today, like and I think a lot of people use Bolt to just like build one-off utilities, right? And that sort of thing. And I think, you know, I think the good news is like it's gonna yeah, I think there's gonna be an explosion of software being built, right? I mean, like now that you can just generate software for pennies, right? That would, normally cost thousands of dollars or something, right? There's gonna be more software in the world. On the flip side, it's also like, I think that's inherently going to increase the bar for quality and support, et cetera. So the companies that really can succeed here are, it no longer is just the ability to build it
Right.
a, the big limiting factor.
Mm.
It's good holistic experience around it, and et cetera. And like brand, I mean, like brand as a psychological thing, like it's actually pretty important, right? And so I think when you kind of look at that, it's just, I think that you're gonna have more, it's more choices tends to just be better, or more
Mm.
market, more things in the market, it tends to be better for consumers. And certainly enabling people to go and create their own tools, tends to yield a lot more innovation, right? So I think we're going to see, like, I think there's people that kind of like, like the AI thread boys or whatever, which are like, all SaaS is dead. Like it's going to be,
Yeah.
then you have people, yeah, so you get to these extremes on either side.
Yeah.
It's
I
like,
just call them
this
like the
is,
doomsday templates, where it's like, rip, this role goes away. This role goes away. I'm like, come on, like, let's just grow up.
yeah, I know exactly, right? So there's all this stuff like that that's happening. Like, I mean, maybe some of this stuff is true to some degree, right? Because I mean, you may end up with companies that, you know, are not innovating, and
Mm.
and then they're gonna get their heels are gonna start getting clipped by stuff that's being built by people, and then they could
Mm.
go out of bed. Yeah, so, but it's like it's gonna be out of neglect that these things go away, and so like that's kind of it whenever these revolutions happen like that, there is a lot of that. There are a lot of new companies that becoming
Right.
something different than what existed previously.
Mm.
Um, but I also I think it's all like a new opportunity both for the incumbents and everyone else, right? I mean, I think, you know, it's definitely, I think it's just, again, net good. Like it's exactly what we saw with like the dot-com, revolution and the mobile revolution, whatever.
Yeah.
There's going new types of companies that emerge that provide, you know, new innovative experiences that weren't possible before. And some of that will displace existing players, some of that will empower existing players, right? And so I think it's, there's going to be kind of a
Yeah.
mix. I don't
Yeah.
see it as a
Yeah.
doomsday thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's not like an either or kind of a switch. It's more like it's just blending the experience. And what I hear also from you is like how this is going to make the the user experience and the holistic, like, I care about this more important than actually like building and putting stuff out, because that's going to be more streamlined now and more easier now. So the other aspects is going to become more key and essential, right? Like, yeah, that makes
yeah,
sense.
I agree, right? And it's kind of like, if you kind of like believe in like the supply and demand curve, right? I mean, there's about
Mm.
to be, we're talking about effectively in economic terms, like an
Yeah.
explosion of supply, right? And so like when that happens, the question is, if you want to increase demand for an individual product in the market, you're going to have to sufficiently differentiate, and like really, you're going to have to innovate far beyond
Mm.
the baseline is, right?
Mm.
Because it is going to be crowded, et cetera. And so what are, and then you just have to look at what are the things you can actually differentiate on.
Mm.
And, again, that comes down to like brand and support and, ability to like keep it, like leverage AI to continue shipping even faster, et cetera, as an organization. So
Mm.
it's like the puck just kind of is moving in the same direction it always has, maybe a little bit faster, maybe a different little bit, of a different direction than previously.
Right.
But these sorts of like supply demand explosions
Mm.
tend to be good, right? I mean, they tend to just be, they tend to improve the quality of life of everyone. you know,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I think the incumbents definitely, it's like they have to either adopt and innovate or die, right? I mean, like that's
Mm.
always the case. Like there's no business that's just kind of like,
Yeah.
hey, we're just gonna sit here on our hands and we can expect to continue growing every quarter after. That's not a reasonable expectation, right?
Yeah.
They're gonna have to move and have to innovate and whatever. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also the fact that it's not a fleeting fad or a trend or anything like that, right? The fact that AI has actually reached to the masses, even folks who are not in tech and not in software, people are able to understand the implications of AI. I think that is the primary step for us to understand that this is not a trend that's just going to like fleet away, but then it's really going to change a lot of ways that we currently function, especially with building software front. So completely agree with the points you said. And which also takes me to understanding this part of, if it's going to be more with adopting this tech and going about innovating stuff, are we also going to see a trade off between like the velocity? Because let's say a decade ago, building software was a slightly slower process, like where, especially even for you to have built stack Blitz over time, there was time to buy. There was like 6 to 7 years for you to build the base and then like constantly keep innovating. To actually now, where with Bolt, you're literally like on your shoes, where you're like, oh, the user is using it this way. Let me go about building this feature, or let me go about iterating, shipping stuff with more velocity now. So what's this trade-off going to look like, and how have you managed it, especially coming from Stackbridge to Bolt now? And is this also going to have impact on the number of people that make a startup? Like, is it going to reduce the number of people, small teams? What's the future really going to be like?
Yeah, like as far as like how like this AI, wave is, yeah. So I think a lot more people are gonna be able to build startups for sure.
Mm,
I think that I think back to like when my co-founder and I were 13 and we learned how to code together. Like we learned how to code because we wanted to like build products and like ship
mm,
product and build businesses and stuff, right? And I don't know if we would have learned how to code if like Bolt and the current level of AI code gen was where it is now.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, like, I don't know if I would have really gone as deep on learning how to write software if this stuff had been around when I was 13. And to that kind of, that probably would have accelerated. Like, I think so. If you kind of like play that scenario, we would have shipped our those product ideas we had way faster back
Mm,
there. We would have learned a lot faster because like being an entrepreneur or being someone who's like building products, it's like it's
mm,
about learning. You're doing like customer research, like what do people want, like what uh, like that's classic Y Combinator slogans, like make things that people want, right?
mm,
And
mm,
to do that, you have to go and make prototypes. You have to go and talk to customers. You have to do et cetera, right? And the most expensive thing to date has been writing the code.
yeah,
Whether you're doing it yourself or you're paying someone to do it, it takes time. Like it takes
mm,
minimum, it just takes time. Too, like if you're paying someone to do it, it costs a lot of money.
mm.
And so I think that like I think this is going to be and then we're already seeing this, right? I mean, like people are already doing this where they're able to go and start like learning how to be a great
Mm,
entrepreneur, learning how to be a great product person
right,
by doing like way
mm,
faster. Because like how else do you get the hits at bat on this sort of stuff?
right,
Other than going and actually building and launching a real
mm.
thing. And so that, yeah, I think that and to me that's cool because I think we'll see a lot more people be able to actually like learn to become entrepreneurs
Mm.
and learn how to really build great products
So
where
speed is a benefiting factor, right? Like that's
huge,
right.
huge,
Yeah.
huge. I think that's like the number one thing that,
Mm,
even at this current snapshot of time, it's like, I mean, the companies that are adopting Bolt, it's not often they're like going like an existing company with like, think like Google or something, right?
mm,
Like they have code bases that are decades old. Like they're not coming to Bolt to like
mm.
go and work on Google search or something. They're coming to it to like, and to accelerate their product development process.
Yeah.
They're coming here because it's like, hey, we have an idea for like, the next great app we want to ship or great website or whatever. Instead of showing people screenshots,
Mm,
it's just prompt it in 30 minutes and put the
yeah.
real in front of them and get real feedback. And then, and heck, while they're looking at it, we can continue to prompt based on their feedback. It'll update live
Yeah.
sites, right? I
Yeah.
mean, that's
Yeah.
crazy. Like that would have taken, months and like been, cost, I don't know, they come at scale the size of like Google, like millions of dollars at
Mm,
minimum. So it's like, and now you're talking about something that's in the span of like, 30 minutes can happen. And that's huge because like your companies are gonna be able to build better products faster. And then that's awesome. So whether you're, a 10-year-old or in the
mm,
Fortune 100, like that, the speed is key. Speed is key because
yeah.
it allows you to iterate faster and ultimately allows you to build, great products and therefore great businesses faster.
Yeah, yeah. No, this is very much in line with what most folks today, especially who are entering into the startup space and who actually want to put out stuff, are facing in terms of what used to take me months and years is now taking me weeks. And while there's also like this whole thing with, oh, there's so many stuff to catch up on, which is perhaps like slightly on, maybe could be a slightly negative thing for people, but then there's so much positivity that comes out of putting speed as the primary option, which is, yeah, like for me, what used to take me amount of days to reach out to the customer is actually making me do it in hours. So that factor is definitely empowering. And you made a very interesting point with the age group as well, right? Because now kids are trying to see what's the best way to visualize their ideas. The fact that they're exposed to tools like this is actually making them realize that it's after all like not going to be like a very tedious job to learn how to simply get their ideas out. And today
Yeah.
there's a lot more. I feel like the way kids are taught to code or even understand, okay, building something takes this while, or this step is definitely cut down thanks to Bolt and bunch of whatever wave has been happening around in AI, because now there's more practicality. It's like I jokingly say that it's similar to how we used to do physics experiments back in school, because it was always like not theoretical. You go back to the lab, you kind of do stuff and then figure out, oh, like this is why this theory works this way. So I find like now it's finally possible to just not sit in code or like just memorize programs, but then there's actual way to go build and ship stuff out to test.
Totally, totally. Yeah, I think I think that's exactly it. I'm trying to find like a good analogy to like describe like the sort of like evolution of this. But I mean,
Hmm.
fundamentally, it's you know, I think that like architecture was not a job that many people had until building and construction was a very
Hmm.
modernized process, right? Like, and that's kind of where the state of like where coding's been, where it's it the fact that it takes so long to build stuff, right, and it's so expensive to do with code, right, with
Hmm.
developers, has limited people's ability to kind of think like to really be able to think at a higher level on how do we like make great products, and the only way you can do it is by spending literally years or decades like
Yeah.
it spends so much time in the game to learn how to do it, right? And because I think that, of most of the things I learned in the first 5 years of trying to build products and companies or whatever was like software stuff. Like,
Yeah.
it was like, I mean, like which is like it's not that it's not important, right? It's like it's important to be aware of the materials that you're using to like build your house or whatever. But
Mm.
but to the degree that you can bring in great professionals that can
Mm.
do the construction, but you can focus on the higher level architectural aspects of what you're actually trying to do
Yeah.
there. Anyways, that's huge because I think that's,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
the only way to do that is spending if you want to be great at it, you have to, just takes so much time previously because of
Yeah.
how long software development would take. And
Yeah. I think now you're able to arrive at the nuance much earlier. Like now you really understand what matters, right? Like not saying that code or learning deeply on how to program didn't matter, but now people do understand that what matters at this age and at this hour of building software is more to get closer to the customers and actually ship the idea out. So with that narrative being changed, I think where we are with Bolt and what you folks are doing and what others are also able to adopt is getting closer. So now the narrative has changed, and yeah, like now it makes a lot of sense to get to this side of things. So yeah.
totally.
So on this note, do you also like constantly keep getting these inspirations from the community? Because I do see, like, as one of the folks who's using Bolt and who's literally seeing tons of examples that people share, I'm seeing how the community is so much a thriving factor for the platform to grow. So how important for you it is as you're building out, and also for most startup folks listening to this, as they keep building their tools out, getting users a part of this is going to be a huge job. So for you, how do you see this community quotient for Bolt, and what's been your learning apart from the examples that you're seeing? What else have you picked up from the community?
A ton. Yeah. I mean, I think, the super interesting thing has been, I mean, like the community is like, it can feel most people there are like better at using Bolt than we are at this point, 'cause, like we have like,
I was
like,
expecting that. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. And that's the kind of the wild thing with these AI tools is that, they're not like deterministic. Right. So it's like, if
yeah,
you like write for Gmail, it's like if you wanted to become like really good at like using Gmail, there's like an instruction manual. It's like if you want to write an email, you click compose, and you type, and then I mean, it's like there's only so many like things you can
mm,
do in Gmail, and
yeah,
it's all deterministic. Like you can map out, and they have like this is Google's help center for Gmail. You
yeah,
can find out everything you can do with Gmail there, everything, right? The problem with these generative AI tools is like you can I there's stuff that even the frontier labs that made the model don't know that this thing's capable of, right? And so, like you're constantly people are constantly finding out new things that you can do with it and new ways that you can push it and ways to make it more reliable or, whatever. And so if like the community is a huge, huge, huge aspect for us, I mean, we invest a ton in our community because we get our, the most like
mm,
valuable product insights and feedback from those folks.
yeah,
And that was like one of the interesting things about Bolt is like we actually open sourced the core version of Bolt when we launched. And
mm,
it's kind of like that the open source version of Bolt has like become, one of the top, starred and used kind of repos, because there's not a lot of like good production AI tools that are actually open
Yeah.
source. And Bolt is like, as far as I'm aware, is like kind of like one of the only ones. And what's cool about that is people are like, the community there is taking it. And when new models come out, these things are coming out like every day, almost, right? So like when a new model comes out, they pull down that model, try it out
Mm.
in local, and they go, okay, like this is great. And we learn a ton from that, right? So we
Yeah.
actually, and bi-directionally, like we get to share kind of the stuff we're learning about what's working in our production stack, and et cetera, and like integrate the stuff into the bolt on new actual production side. But yeah, I mean the community like is, I think, a key reason why Bolt is like the number one, most adopted web-based AI code gen tool,
Yeah.
right? It's like, it's no coincidence that we invest so deep in the community stuff, and and the adoption is kind of falling. Like that's
Yeah.
how it kind of tends to go with these sorts of things.
Yeah. Yeah. And also the open source part is super exciting because I've been seeing how much leveraging open source is giving people a lot of control. Like the ones who would directly go on and use the platform would continue to do it. But the fact that being able to run a model locally, being able to train something, being able to take the boilerplate and build something on top of it is super interesting because it could lead to a lot of more discoveries than what is currently happening with just the full stack applications as people do today. So I think that route, I'm glad that you did that for Bolt because most entrepreneurs today, especially building with AI, I think open source is one way to give people the trust of AI is getting better, and we are pioneering the way for that. And as builders doing it today, I think it's kudos to all of you for doing that. So yeah, just wanted to appreciate you on that note. Do you build Bolt out of Bolt?
We do, yeah. We use it heavily, like when we're prototyping, like the
Right.
user is for Bolt and stuff like that, like all the time. Yeah, all the time, because it's like the fastest way to like get, again, not just like some static screenshot, but like an
Yeah.
actual functional, prototype made of stuff, right? So we're constantly using Bolt for testing out new ideas and stuff, right? And we also are using Bolt for like, there are other things that are, like and another use case that we are seeing a lot now is like people using this for like marketing sites or blogs and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Instead of using like Webflow or something like that, if you can just
Yeah.
have, what's the point of a no code or low code tool, right? When you can put text in this text
Yeah.
box and it built like a production grade site. There's no middleman glue layer, like the developers can work, comes out of it, right? So it's like a lot of our public websites and blogs and that sort of thing, all that stuff we're using Bolt for, et cetera.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, this can also like really lessen the cycle that it takes to ship stuff because I'm literally seeing Bolt ship features week after week, and there's like this super velocity with which you folks are going. So I was just like thinking, oh my God, like, do these folks build with Bolt? Like, do they build Bolt with Bolt? So yeah, it makes sense. Makes sense now to, kind of speed that up and similar to what we were chatting.
Yeah.
Cool. It's fun, right? Like it's a very meta thing, and it's also like you literally dog fooding your own product. So that way, it services up a lot of things, as you said, in terms of fixing stuff and getting it better up and rolling. So yeah,
That's the way to do it. If you can dog food your own product, right? Because you will find all the things that need improvement quickly.
yeah, totally with you there. Yeah. And the fact about you said how this is actually making people go beyond what they're currently doing and just literally go type something out in the box, get stuff and get it live. One aspect that I was also curious about there is so many models keep changing every day. I mean, there's DeepSeek now. Literally every tool, every platform out there is looking at, oh, like how do we get the DeepSeek model into this platform and how do we get out the reasoning part better? And then there's, let's say, 2 months down the line, there's another model and there's something else to catch up on. As someone who's actually building in the frontier of AI, how do you see this overwhelming an everyday user? Because today, most users are classified as hobbyists who are just like looking at their ways to get the tool up and rolling, or probably folks who are more serious builders who are looking at getting better with what they do. Taking both of these folks into mind, like, do you think this constant change in models and all of these is just overwhelming? How do you deal with this, and how do you see this go down the line? Is it going to be a fact that folks today, for example, use Bolt, Cursor, Lovable, a bunch of the peer tools as well together? So where's this leading into?
Yeah, I think we're going to continue to see just like lots of new models. I think that's going to be like a given, and some are going to be better at some things, right? Some are going to be worse at others, and I think you have companies like us, which are at the app layer, that are choosing models that are going to be to perform the best at certain types of tasks, right? And so I think that like for end users that are not, building something like Bold, it doesn't really matter what models are coming out per
Mm.
se. You know what I mean? You know, I think that what's gonna, they're gonna be making choices on like whether they're using Cursor or Windsurf or this or that. Yeah, I mean,
More
so
at
it's like
the
it's stuff
app
like
level.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I think it's you're fundamentally you're gonna be choosing between just products. Like in the same way that like you don't choose what SaaS tool, whether they're using Azure or AWS for their,
Yeah.
their right. Like it doesn't matter. It
Fair
kind of
enough.
doesn't like what's providing the best experience,
Mm.
And so just like anything else, like when we are, we spend a lot of time, and this is like again the benefit of our open source community is they do the open source world is and the second these models drop, they're trying it out in Volt, and they're and we're they kind of give the rundown like, hey, here's how good
Yeah.
this thing, right?
Yeah.
And we take a look at it ourselves, and if stuff's good, like we'll go and pull it into the product. But more often than not, these things are maybe good on a benchmark, but don't actually
Mm.
perform, on like the sort of
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
as we see. And then that's it. Like we're now multi-model, at
Mm.
Bold. Like we were primarily Sonnet. We're now, there's a couple other models
Yeah.
that we're running. So it's like I think that, but our end users have no idea. Like they don't
Mm.
care. Like they don't care what models as long as this thing is doing a good job about putting
Mm.
accurate code, and, et cetera.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
But you're right. In terms of the app layer, I think, like you said, there's always the trade-off that they want to make between, okay, where do I draw the line? What tool do I use? Should I like put it up here, actually get to build stuff here, and then use a bunch of tools together? This is just a very tactical question because, when I talk to builders, they always like give a bunch of tools. So if you have to say like Bolt is really great amongst the peers or other kind of tools that users use today, if Bolt is like really good at ABC kind of things, what would you say as the top three things so that it helps someone who's just so new and getting started?
yeah, yeah. So I mean, I think anyone that's like looking to build a full stack app from scratch, like this is, I mean, the best tool I would imagine for that. Same thing if you're looking to rapidly prototype a web mobile app, this is the best tool for that. I mean, I think those are like, I mean, heck, if you're looking to build a personal website, like instead of using, like we have people that don't use Wix or Squarespace because it is way easier, way faster, actually a lot cheaper to use both to go and make your wedding website or whatever. So I think
Yeah.
like any of those sort of use cases, Bolt is, I think like the best way to measure like how good a product is like,
Mm.
the free markets are filled with rational actors, right? So like
Yeah.
by like Bolt is number two only to Cursor at this point. So and Cursor
Yeah.
is like, it's really targeting
Yeah.
developers. Incredible
Yeah.
for,
Yeah.
for for developers. This
Yeah.
is, Bolt is like the number one tool for I mean, both like we have developers using it, but also people that are not like PMs, designers, etc. And so I think that there's kind of like the people that are using Bolt are
Mm.
rational, right? Like they're smart people making incredible stuff. And so I think that like that's like the best kind of
Yeah.
proof of like this actually like works, right? Like this is
Right.
not, there's a lot of this AI stuff where people will hype it and like they'll say all this stuff and then you get there and like maybe it does something and then it like starts breaking, da, da, da.
Mm.
And like that's not to say that Bolt isn't perfect, but it's like, but there's, the level of reliability we've been able to
Mm.
achieve is like insane,
Right.
especially compared to a lot of the other stuff in the market. So that's those would be kind
Yeah.
of the key cases
Key
I would
points.
flag there.
Fantastic. Yeah. And the reliability gets better with more users coming in, getting their perspectives out, and also like sharing what they're building. So I think it only gets better with usage. And
Totally.
that's a good point that you made with Cursor too, because I do see while, and as someone who uses both, I could like really say how the environments are different, right? Like this is completely like web built and that one's more like local. So the fact that you tend to use both of these tools in conjunction is where I see where you know when to take it local, you know when to have more precise control over your local deployments. And yeah, I think Cursor works. And if you really want to, as you pointed out, a few cases where you want to build stuff out on the web and literally for the fidelity of it, I think, yeah, like going with Bolt makes sense. So I do see like both of those as not this or that, but more of a conjunction is what I see as someone using both. So I just wanted to put that take there. And what's something you recently built with Bolt? I mean, like what's your favorite couple of ideas?
Yeah, I actually, I mean, I use it all the time, even just to like, just to test it out, to like see if there's bugs in it,
Yeah.
yeah, whatever. But I've been having a lot of fun because we released this, the ability to write native mobile applications. We have this partnership with Expo.
Expo. Yeah.
This
Yeah.
was like last week, and it's super cool because we basically like you can prompt in like on your phone, you can actually see like the preview test of the thing or whatever updating live as the AI is writing the code. So like,
Yeah.
I've been having fun because you can have it use native device features like the camera, the microphone, or whatever. And so I was just like, make me an Instagram clone, right, where I can like take photos and add filters and save the photos, and like did it. I was like,
Mhm.
damn, this is crazy. Like
Yeah.
I was like zero shot, basically. So there's like fun, like the mobile stuff is really cool because it's like having native mobile app where you can be building stuff, and like I built like a meditation app.
Right. I was just building this a couple of minutes ago before the call. Because I was like, I didn't explore what Expo was, and I thought, oh my God, like now you can do mobile apps. And exactly, I was building a meditative app. It was like, how you doing? And then have a bunch of these meditative, like exercises that you could
Man,
take. And it's like,
it's beautiful too. I mean, the UI is really good. Look at the animation in the back. How many prompts? How many prompts in are
Actually,
you on?
I think on this front, for the animation especially, I just didn't have to prompt it a lot. I just had to say, hey, like I really want a clean modern UI. And because there's meditative app, I just wanted to
Yeah.
have a little bit of motion in the background so that way you feel more relaxed. And that's
Yeah, yeah. It's a wonderful touch. But this is such a great example of like, you're someone who's incredible at building products. You have an eye for the small details that make a great experience, right? And like, and you were able to just prompt this into existence collaboratively with this thing.
yes,
Where
yes.
this is beautiful. I mean, you put this on the app store, it's like this is like an actual app people would use and pay for, right?
Yeah,
Uh
yeah.
this is
No,
anyways, like this
100%.
is well done. How long did it take you to make this?
I was just going to say, like, I started this morning. So maybe like an hour in the morning and maybe
Wow.
half an hour now just before the call. So in all, like less than 2 hours. So yeah,
Wow. That's
yeah.
insane.
Yeah. And
That's
for
like
me,
action
what's
crazy.
Yeah, no, for me, also like what's super empowering is the fact that the connection with the database or what actually has to happen in the backend is something which is a prompt away where you can just say, hey, like literally tell me what do I do to save the data? And then it tells me like, yeah, you have to connect to Superbase. And then I see a button and then I click it. And then so the fact the orchestration is also like super helpful for people. And as someone who perhaps would not even go set a table in DB 6 months ago to actually now to do a lot of this, I feel like that is the empowering part. So when you said meditative, I'm like, oh my God, like, yeah, that's exactly what I was doing a couple of hours ago. So I think that is super fascinating. And like you said, just get some of these website ideas out or whatever you're toying around. Like now I find me and a bunch of other builders that I know just automatically go and just brainstorm with most of these tools as a means of getting that idea out. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's empowering.
totally.
Yeah,
Totally.
yeah.
It's so cool to see this. It's so cool to see this because it's like kind of different. It's like cool to see the web app, like see web apps built, and then it's like seeing a mobile app get spawned is there's something really magic about that where I mean, it's just like it's easy to deploy a web app. It's really
Yeah.
hard to deploy a mobile app. And so it's like
Yeah.
that's a beautiful app. Like that's well done. Like that's cool.
Thank you. And yeah, looking to take that live soon. So yeah, thanks on that. Yeah, one of the last questions, Eric, and I'm like, this conversation has been super insightful. I just don't want to end. But yeah, like one of the last sections that I would want to talk to you more about is the way that we are prompting, because you rightly said, like, how long did it take for me to do this? And what kind of prompting did I use? That's something that I always keep wondering about as to, okay, so to get better at this stage, should I have prompted it in a different way or should I have gotten better at the way that I'm asking? So on that note, where do you see this going forward in terms of today we're saying complete this, fix this, get this done. It's 85% there, and the 15% is still like sitting, logging in every step in and out. How are you envisioning this as someone building this in the forefront? What's it really going to be like? What's the agent human interaction going to be like in the next few years? Is it going to be very streamlined where you just say, get this thing done, get notified by the agent like a couple of hours later? Or what's that quotient going to really be like?
Yeah, a good question. Kind of describing this question like it's like the inner loop versus outer loop sort of prompt
Yes,
flows.
yes,
So like,
exactly.
and Bolt is like inherently is very much an inner loop where you're sitting in the product and every message prompt you're kind of iterating, etc. And you have things like Devin, like a Cognition Labs or whatever, where that's like a
Yes.
pure out loop.
Yeah.
You like tell it to do a thing, and then like 30 minutes later, it's like, I
Yes.
think the thing, and then you come back, and if it didn't, you give it more feedback. And
Right.
so I think like with the current state of AI code gen, I don't think not that Devin is not useful. I think it
Mm,
is
mm,
probably in a lot of different use cases. But I think the challenge is like when these things get confused and kind of go a bad direction, you really
mm,
don't want it running for 30 minutes or something, right? In a run
mm.
because it like costs money, right? To do that.
Right.
And time. And, it's like, what's the point of this thing? Every 30 minutes you check back in and like didn't do the thing or whatever. So I think like, I think that again, like when you kind of look at just by adoption revenue, like Bold is like, one of the top kind of fast growing things here. And it's like, I think the inner loop is the right place to start, and
Right.
being directly control of the process. I do think that like, I think there's a lot to be done there. I think there's a lot to be done there where you can even have some like outer loop type things happening as
Mm,
part of that. So for example, like as you're building your app, it's like writing unit tests or whatever to make sure that
right.
it's not going to go and break in the future, things of that, or and it's running EDE tests or whatever, right?
The error
There's kind of like
logs and
out,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
exactly. It's like there's like outer loop type things where it's like this isn't, you're still able to just keep iterating, but kind of in the
Mm,
background, it's doing things to like make it more
mm,
robust and da 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 da, right?
mm, mm, mm,
And
mm.
but and I think that you fast forward a couple of years, it's like, yeah, like this stuff will probably be at a point where you can go and like have it just say go do this thing. It could be a pretty large thing. It'll
Mm,
say, hey, this is going to take like 5 or 10 minutes. Is that okay?
right,
And it just and like pretty reliably will come back.
right.
I think for us, like we're not, our perspective is we need to have a lot of conviction. Like
Mm,
the hit rate on you going and saying this thing off for anything more than 60 seconds is like at least 95%, ideally 98, 99, right? Where it's like it's gonna do the right thing and not just
mm,
go bonkers
mm.
and burn a ton of money, whether it's the company's or yours or whatever. And I don't think we're quite there yet.
Right.
But I'm in the loop, like where you're doing the interlude thing, that works
Mm,
incredibly well. And I think
right.
there's a ton to explore just kind of in that.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's a very nuanced take. And yeah, I agree with you. And like you said, it's going to be a combination of largely the inner loop, but a little bit of the outer loop in cases where it's applicable. But at least with the current innovations that we are in, we're still not like completely out there to claim that. And for that matter, even Devon, right? Like I've seen a couple of friends, I've still not used Devon myself, but I've been like seeing demos and videos of how it's been helpful or what's it exactly doing. But like you said, there's the error ratio that's very high there because it's literally like it's a junior engineer and you're training it, and then you have to
Yeah.
give a lot of context. But still, like there are things that could go wrong, and since you're not directly involved in the loop, there's still like a little bit of the error ratio to handle. So that's very right now. I think yeah, like the state that we're in, it's going to be a very tacky thing to take a stance to say, oh, this is going to work better. But I do see your point in terms of saying why the inner loop works better because at least you're right here sitting and asking what exactly you want rather than letting somebody else decide what's really going to happen here. But
Then it really comes down to like, is AI code gen a good enough, an AI agent at a point where you can really leave
hmm,
it unattended and expect to have good results, right? Where it's like chaining lots of things. Or I
right.
think the answer is just tangibly no right now. And anyone
Mm,
saying otherwise, surely if that was the case, they would be number one, like they would be making a ton of money or something, right?
right.
Like, but
Yeah.
that's like not the case right now.
Mm,
Like the stuff that is working, Cursor is an inner loop thing, right?
yeah.
Like they're number one, like and Bolt is number two. Like these are inner loop products fundamentally, and both our companies I imagine are looking at outer loops type
Okay.
stuff. But
Okay.
today it's that is the tangible reality, and like
Mm.
again, AI thread boys can say whatever, but it's like at some level the market is filled with rational actors. If
Yeah.
this bullet is there, surely people would buy because it's
Yeah.
obviously valuable, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm completely with you there. And I also think that maybe down the line, the models, like now it's Sonnet, and you, like you said, Bolt is going to support a bunch of other models too. But maybe down the line, the interpretation of the models is going to get better because today, what a lot of folks face as hindrance is, hey, like I'm saying something, but then AI is acting up. Like I'm saying something, but something else is happening on the screen. But that's also the fact that it's not just the human that's in the fault, but it's also the interpretation of the models where what
yeah,
you say is perhaps like not what's getting perceived. But maybe that is a line that's going to slowly start blurring. And maybe like there would be a point where AI literally takes in like the orchestrated stream of step one, step two, step three. Because today what we have to do is build in steps, right? Like we can't give the entire thing out there. And that's when, like you said, the whole non-deterministic part gets the hallucination stage. So yeah, I think maybe like the foundation models get better.
totally, totally love it.
This is crazy times that we're in, but it's super exciting. Every day you wake up, there's something new to learn, there's something new to ship. So super excited. And thank you so much, Eric. This has been a fantastic conversation. I loved a lot of practical examples to take away. And I'm so glad to see what you're doing with Bolt and pumped up, always going to be that user who supports and like cheers for you and the team in the back end. But yeah, super excited for a lot of them who are going to listen to this episode and get started with their coding journey. Thank you. And please do what you're doing, like continue to do and make more awesome stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for having me on. This is a blast.